Hello, listeners. This is Jim the Keys Bartender coming to you from Key Largo in the Florida Keys in the state of Florida. I was going to say great state of Florida, but that's kind of assumptive. Great. What makes it great? Texas, Alaska, Montana, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. You ever see those people that during one of these political conventions, either, doesn't matter, both sides of the aisle, right? From the great state of Rhode Island, the state that brought you blah, 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 blah. Everyone thinks it's the greatest. They act during those conventions like a parent who has an overly well-received child. Like saying, oh my God, my child's the greatest. He's the greatest. He pooped by himself. He pooped by himself. He can go take care of himself and brush his teeth and do all that stuff. Well, isn't your kid 16 years old? Shouldn't they be able to do that? Well, yeah, but he's amazing. He's amazing. He wrote me a letter. He wrote me a letter, and it was what did the letter say? It said, Mom, please, I need my uniform cleaned for practice. Oh, that's the letter your son left you? And oh my God, he's going to be such a literary giant. I digress once again. I was talking about the state. Everyone's state, what they're coming from, what their hometown is, what hometown they're from, how great it is. They're so parochial, or it's a kind of cross between parochial and xenophobia, meaning where I'm from is the greatest place. Your place cannot, and they always sing, people talk about this is why this place is so great. And they love it. And sometimes they have an ulterior motive. If you have a real estate agent, they would say that about their community because they're selling property there. Or if you're a business person, or just generally proud of your area. But, why would you automatically think you come from the greatest place? I'm not saying you have to shit can everything else, your stuff, but why would you assume that there isn't redeeming qualities in other places people live? And there's some beautiful places out there. I enjoy where I live because I live here. I know the people here. I enjoy my surroundings. Of course, it's the Florida Keys, and you hear about things like, you have this image of the subtropics and things like that. But I'm sure the place you live is nice also. If a place is that shitty, generally people leave. And that's why you see these ghost towns in the middle of, the flyover country every so often. But then in the middle of those states, there's beautiful little towns and cities. The way people behave when they're from New York, Chicago, LA, they're very, what you call, protective of the reputation of the town they're from. Whenever I tell people that I'm from Philadelphia originally, they go, are you glad you're not there? They just have a horrible image of Philadelphia for some reason. Some people call it Philadelphia. I'm like, where are you from? What bumfuck place are you from? You get to say shitty stuff about my town. Let me hear your shitty town. Or were you tired of the brothers and sisters having sex with each other? Is that why you left your town? Wherever it's from. Hillbilly country. Whatever. How's that sound when you say shit like that? Don't automatically shit on someone's town they're from. They don't necessarily It's like saying shit about their family. Are you glad you got out of that family? Kind of like the Manson family, isn't it? No. People are fond of their many people are fond of their childhood towns and homes and their families. Why would you shit on them automatically? Oh, what did you think of that town? How'd you like it? Why are you down here? Well, like many people, where you born, and you move because opportunities present themselves. That's it. Whenever I get the opportunity to say something about my hometown, Philadelphia, hey, listen, I understand people from Philadelphia. A friend of mine recently came to visit. He said, what would have to happen for you to move back? And I said, it wouldn't have to be a drastic thing. You know, I wouldn't have to be offered a great job or a great place to live or anything like that. It'd just be an opportunity that would present itself. Just like it did when I left the city. And many of you regular listeners have heard the story. Back in 2007, I was in a troubled marriage. We were seeking help, going to counseling, and it just became irreparable. We didn't have any compelling reasons to stay together because we didn't have any children. We were fighting a lot, just getting worse. And listen, within 4 months of moving down here, I stopped drinking. So there was an ongoing problem I had that wasn't addressed, and that was drinking. So I came down to a place down here where a friend had room for me to live and had hooked me up with a job, and I took the job. It was only supposed to be temporary. I was going to move on. I was going to try to fix my life. I was going to try to change course. I wanted to do something more creative. And you know what? I came down here, and the biggest creative thing I did, the biggest factor that changed that for me was, and I can only speak for myself, was drinking. Because I spent a lot of energy focusing on my drinking. Now, I have other issues. I'm a procrastinator. I avoid some difficult things. If I don't like doing something, I don't like to do it. I won't do it. In many cases, I'll put it off. There's all different types of procrastination and stuff like that. But when I gave up the bottle, I had more energy. I had more time to do things. I changed my. It's like anything you spend. Think about the time you spend doing something during the week. If you find yourself listening to sports radio, cut that out for a little while. I mean, I know that's something you like, or TV, or reading, or cosplay. It's something that's not productive. Now, I'm not saying something that provides happiness. If that's the thing that provides happiness in life, after doing something for a while and you really enjoy it and you feel enriched, keep on doing it. That's what I did. And I realized that at least the thing I gave up gave me an opportunity to think about the things I'm doing and what I could do a little better. And I went on to create several small companies. Never rose to more than 2 or 3 employees, but it was interesting considering a guy never had any business experience before. When I say business experience, I mean entrepreneur experience. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. It was an act of creativity. And then eventually I got into podcasting. I still always did a lot of writing since I came down to the Keys. Always thinking, well, I have books and books filled with writing. It could be rantings. People could pick them up and say, this guy has one disjointed idea into the next. He is fucking insane. That's what they could say if they pick it up. But, I mean, it makes sense to me. It's just ideas, and sometimes I try to write kind of exaggerated fiction or exaggerated nonfiction. And that's what I got into. And then I, segued into this podcast, which I've done. This is episode 523. So I started with talking about the place I'm from, why I'm there, and why I'm here. It's kind of random, isn't it? A random conversation. But all those steps that I did, where I'm from, where I am now, was meant to be. And those experiences lead me to be able to talk about things that I think about now. I'm not saying it makes me an expert. I do think about why people ask why you're from, why they would be so judgmental about a place they haven't been to or haven't spent a lot of time in there. It's very hard to judge a town by driving over its highways, especially these old northeastern towns, because these highways were built through industrial centers that are very depressing. Very depressing. You have to go through certain neighborhoods. If you go through Miami, there's some neighborhoods you drive through and there's bars on the houses. There's bars on the houses. That doesn't mean all of it's like that. There's certain neighborhoods you go through and there's it has all these these trees, and you go through Coral Gables and there's very nice houses there. Other places, the working class neighborhoods, a little rougher neighborhoods, you go in there. They're nice houses too, but they have little bars on it. Gives you a little more of that feel that it could be not so safe, not so nice. And there's dirtier parts when you get to the old business sections of town and more depressed areas. You go through Florida City, some of the areas down there, very depressing, the gateway to the Keys. Some of those neighborhoods. And other ones are not so bad. These people that live there have these little big lots, these big acres and acres of lots where people come in and live, and they do their kind of budget Florida retirement home. And it's a camper on the lot. And that's what we're doing. And they may have moved from a place like St. Louis or Cleveland or Akron. I named 2 Ohio towns. And I'm sure they don't hate their towns. They just left to seek warmer climes maybe, or just the idea of being in Florida. That's enough of that. I'm just saying that when someone tells you where they're from, you don't have to go and shit all over where they're from. Okay? Oh, what's it like? Oh, was it nice? Okay, that's it. Move on. Unless that person wants to tell you how shitty they thought it was and stuff like that. And a lot of times, for some people, it's because they were surrounded by people that weren't so good for, helping them or cheerleading them or encouraging them. Or they could have been a shitty person up there too. So you don't know the whole story. Let's talk, since I've been trying to do this every episode recently, about a certain aspect of bartending. And I never really get the chance to talk about this, and no one ever really talks about it, is the garnishes. It's important to have presentable, fresh garnishes for certain drinks. And even, beers. There's certain beers that there's Belgian blondes that, and when I'm talking about Belgian blonde, that's a beer. I'm going to say one. Blue Moon. It has a slight hint of orange in it, and people use an orange slice for that. But other than that, you have your orange, you have your lemon, you have your lime, cherry, olives, pearl onions. And some people do separately. I don't necessarily, because I don't get a lot of it. The lemon rind, I just use the slices. I'll cut a couple of lemons kind of thin, so I could just separate the flesh from the rind, and I can use that lemon twist. That's the lemon twist, is just the lemon rind. that goes in a drink. And there's kind of the bitter oils in the rind kind of add something to the drink. So I'm told now. Because I wasn't really big into garnishes when I was drinking. Was I concerned about a garnish? No. Just give me the drink. Yeah, if I'm having a gin and tonic, it's nice to have a lime. Would it stop me from having a gin and tonic? No. No. That's the one gin and tonic, vodka tonic, or club soda. That's the only cocktail because it kind of like cut and dry easy for me. For when I was drinking. I'm not talking about making. So having that nice garnish, you don't want them sitting around too long. So people have different views on how to do it. Like presentation-wise, the half moon where you cut it in half and you just have it, or whole wheel. Sometimes people use a whole wheel. Now that's great for presentation, but not necessarily great for getting juice out of it. The wedge is the best one for getting the juice out of it. If you're squeezing it into the drink, obviously people, there's the whole moon where you have the whole cross section around with a little cut in it, or you could do a half moon, thin slice. It's more surface area to the fruit, and if you're just using it, sometimes it just looks good that way. But the wedge, when you get your fruit, what you do is you rinse off the fruit because it's been handled. So rinse it off with nice cold water. Take all the stickers off it. That's my big beef with some people. If you're going to cut fruit, take the stickers that stick on it, the produce stickers that tell you what lot they came in. Take them off. It doesn't. I know you're in a hurry. You don't have time for foolishness. This sticker's not going to hurt anybody. Most likely it won't, but it's just a level of carelessness you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have the sticker left on the fruit when it goes on. And when someone sees it, it just shows that. So having the correct garnish, like when you have a Manhattan, it's a cherry, an old-fashioned, a cherry and orange slice, or orange rind, or lemon rind, whatever way you make it. I did talk about the old-fashioned before, and I did a little research, and there's a lot of variations when it comes to it. The old-fashioned, the traditional one that was made like in the 40s and things like that. Originally, I don't want to get sidetracked, but it's very dependent on the garnish. Martinis are very dependent on the garnish. You got to have the olives. Now, there's cocktail olives and there's the big olives. I don't really care. I like the in-betweens, actually, because some people like it, some people don't. If they don't like olives, generally they tell you no olives. So if someone gets a little pissed off that you have a little larger olives in it. One of the first episodes of the show, over 500 episodes ago, was blue cheese olives. And people ask about blue cheese olives. And blue cheese olives are not olives made of blue cheese. It's olives stuffed with blue cheese. And they have a tool with, I won't even describe it. It's a low-tech tool. It has a little center cylinder on a tongue with a cutaway, so the center cylinder is exposed. You put it into the blue cheese, fills up with blue cheese. You take that cylinder, fits inside the hole for the olive, and you got a blue cheese olive when you push it together. People love that shit. But the problem with that garnish necessarily, some people just eat the garnish sometimes. They just go and they see blue cheese olives, they just want blue cheese olives because they like olives, they like blue cheese. You hit a juxtaposition of two things that make your life more of a pain in the ass. And blue cheese olives, and people say, how do you know if they get moldy? Because they're already using moldy cheese. Well, you can get moldy. They get shitty, that cheese. But it may not necessarily taste that way. And some of them, they got pre-made, and they put them in the jar, and they're sitting in the orange. They look disgusting. There's nothing like fresh blue cheese olives. And I didn't like olives when and yes, they do make them better. And there's all sorts of things you can stuff olives with. And I'm not saying gross things. I'm saying regular things. Sometimes people use ricotta. They use a little sprig of green. Somebody made one look like a desert island. I know, it's an olive. It looked like a desert island with a palm tree coming out of the top. It just, the palm tree was like a sprig of parsley or something like that. But the garnish is, when someone's really dependent on the garnish, I could tell you, if the garnishes are really nice, the price for the drinks are going to be premium. Because you better have a nice garnish. Or be at an exclusive place. I've gone to exclusive places where you're drinking out of plastic cups and it's still $14, $15 for a drink. That sucks. But generally when you pay $15, $16, $17 for a drink, it's going to be a nice glass and have a nice garnish. So it's really important to keep those going. Have that garnish ready, have it fresh, make sure you take the stickers off it and inspect it. Don't automatically the next day assume that the fruit's fine. Sometimes it gets kind of soft, wilty. Just throw it out. Try to cut. You don't want to cut over because the juice from, let's say, limes and lemons kind of eat away at the rind too. Usually that casement they have for, the whole fruit before it's cut is the best way for preserving the quality and integrity of the fruit before you need to cut it. So cut what you need that day. Have some backup just in case. And there you go. Half the battle is knowing the garnish. That's all I have to say. So we're moving on to Christmas music. Okay. Everyone's heard this thing. Starbucks, they start doing their goddamn designs. They start talking about Black Friday because Thanksgiving is about 2 weeks away. And 2 weeks away, Christmas. So right after Halloween, I understand that people want to get a jump start and they have fond feelings for Christmas. I love Christmas. I love Christmas shows. I love it. And you're going to hear things, I think it's cantankerous and things like that. And there's stores, there's Christmas stores that sell Christmas stuff all year round because people love Christmas. Just like the little kid who likes Spider-Man. They have everything Spider-Man around you. And you want to have everything Christmas around you. Yes, I understand that. But don't you get, the more you have, it's called too much of a good thing? It's like imagine, I'm going to try to make several metaphors to really explain it. You like SpongeBob, the TV show, the cartoon. And you watch it, it's on the television, round the clock. How long you going to like that? Not very long. You like Jimmy Buffett. When I moved down here, I love Jimmy Buffett music. But I ended up bartending at a place, at a back bar, a patio bar, at a nice restaurant. And they had in their rotation a heavy on Jimmy Buffett rotation. And it was more like 5 songs by Jimmy Buffett. And I would hear each of those songs about 7 times a night. And after working maybe sometimes 6 days a week, that's listening to each song 42 times. And doing that for some 7 weeks, that's 280 times each song. That's too much of a good thing. You ruin it with movies when you watch too many movies over, read a book too many times, wear the same outfit. It gets worn out. Your favorite shirt, it gets faded, gets worn. Your favorite shoes, the soles wear out, your laces break. Same things happen with holidays. When you do the same thing every day, it's drudgery. It becomes drudgery. When you hear the same, oh, the weather outside is frightening. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Whatever. I understand. I love Christmas. I love the traditional Christmas when you think about with the the snow and all that. But I like the sentimental Christmas where it's just the ideas of people being good-natured and friendly, and the idea of rejoicing. Oh yeah, I love that stuff. I'm all into it. But I like the 2 weeks. I like the 2 weeks of it. And when I get exposed to it too early, it's like living in Disney World. If you can't relate to this, try to remember, if you were a child, you ever go to Disney World or some amusement park you always wanted to go to, and the first time you went there, the beginning. I just recall the first time I walked into Disney World when I was between 7 and 8 years old. Now, I went to Disneyland younger, but I really vividly remember the big Orlando Disney World. It was pretty new. It was only a couple of years old then. And walked the main entrance, you walked right on the main street. And that's that nostalgic kind of like 1890s Main Street America. And it's real nostalgic. It has ice cream, candy. You have all the characters walking around, brightly painted buildings, the bushes that are cut to look like Mickey or Pluto. And then you see Cinderella's castle at one end, and you see all this other stuff, and it's just excitement welling up from underneath, because the first time you see it, it's everything you've seen. There was a show on Sunday night, it used to be called The Wonderful World of Disney. I pulled that out of my ass. That's pretty good. And they used to open up with that kind of like, I think it's an aerial scene where they see Disney World. And it is heaven to kids. It was heaven. It was everything you wanted. Roller coasters, rides, characters, old-timey buildings. Now, it's funny if you think about kids. If you took a kid to an old-timey building and said, look at this building, this is old. The kid would go, well, why the fuck are you bringing me to this old building? But you put an old building in Disney World, oh, this is a haunted mansion. Well, I know there's a lot more shit goes involved in that, right? You take a kid and say, hey, this is where pirates think. Nope, no, I'm not really care about that. But you take them to Pirates of the Caribbean. And heaven. So, but leave a kid there, get a season pass to Disney. Take them there enough. And then they get kind of used to it. Yeah, living in Disney isn't the same as visiting Disney. And living in Christmas every day is not the same as coming. The nice thing about some of these holidays is they come and they go. It's a change of pace. So we're coming on it this year. I understand my neighbor's already decorating for it, and I appreciate that. I think it's beautiful. I think they're doing. I love Christmas lights. I don't really have a problem with people leaving their house decorated all year round, especially with the lights. I think the lights are aesthetically pleasing, and considering now that they don't draw as much electricity as they used to. You know, the bulbs, the old style bulbs that you've seen in the Griswold, National Lampoon Christmas Vacation don't draw the power that these little LED lights or icicle lights do. So you could have a shitload of them and it's still like having 10 light bulbs running. It's not a ton of electricity. Those old style bulbs, and I think some of these older people that listen to the show, you'll understand. You know exactly. The nice thing about those old bulbs that were easy to replace, they were screw in. You just get a bunch of them, you pop them in, you try to vary the color. Yeah, it was kind of frenetic, the decorating years ago. You go to a house, they didn't really do a lot of themed decorating. It was all, well, Christmas was a theme. So the lights things I think is aesthetically pleasing. Sure, you could put up the Santa blow up things. The Santa blow up doesn't really remind me of Christmas. I do love the nativity scenes. You don't see nativity scenes as much anymore. As a kid, we always used to have, everyone had a nativity scene. Nothing like a plastic nativity scene with little baby Jesus with hands out like he's ready to hug whoever comes along. You got 3 old guys standing off the side, Joseph and Mary, a couple of farm animals. Right? But they never had the lit chicken, though. I never saw the chicken, and that's a running theme in the show. I know I'm always mentioning chickens. I don't know why. I must love chickens. But with the music. Yeah. There are places where people say you cannot play that. And they started playing on a jukebox or a random selection. Christmas music started popping up. I'm guessing it started popping up because there were people there. There were people in the bar area, but I don't think it was someone that would that. And they only played one Christmas song. So it felt like it felt like one of those things they just put in there. Next time someone does that, I'm going to put Grandma ran over by a reindeer 10 times in a row. Next someone starts playing. Yeah, that's my torture. I guess, well, it's everyone's torture. I think there's only a certain amount of that kind of thing to go around. And I think the intensity gets kind of reduced when you do it, when you start right after Halloween and you go, and you have to end it abruptly on the 26th and 27th. I was always slightly depressed on those days, especially as a kid. I mean, the 25th, the Christmas night. Christmas is over on Christmas night. The best part of Christmas for me, I'm not going to say it's opening the presents on Christmas morning, which was an intensity, was the expectation leading a couple days before as a child. The week before, my mom would take us to the Christmas bazaar at the church where they sold all the crap in the basement of one of these old churches. I loved that. I loved, even after Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving Day Parade in Philadelphia, it was the opening of the Christmas season. It wasn't a ton of it. It was just at the end of it that it got Christmassy with Santa. Because that was initiating that. And then they said, okay, now we're going to start putting up decorations. The Christmas trees, Christmas trees were still being sold on Christmas Eve. A lot of people didn't put up Christmas trees early. Well, first of all, they were a fire hazard. And I don't know how they did those trees in those old styles. Once again, I'm always amazed when you see that thing where people are taking candles. Say, let's take candles and put them in that dry fir tree. I don't know if you ever seen one of those bonfires with these old Christmas trees in it, but you should see what it looks like when a dry pine tree goes up. It is a sight to behold. And you'll sound like saying, how the fuck did they have these candles? They used to have candles before they had lights. And put candles in the boughs. And on the edge, and point them out and say, well, we're going to put candles. Well, what if it burns down and sets the tree on fire? Well, nah. We're going to keep an eye on it. I mean, is that a thing? Is it something they just do in movies? Did someone actually do that? So I'm going to take this tree, dry it out in the house, put some candles in it. It's like, we're going to take this cannon, the Civil War cannon, and it may or may not be still loaded with gunpowder. And we're going to put candles on top of it. I mean, actually, that's not a really good metaphor because it's probably unlikely you put whatever they use, the fuse in the cannon to get the chamber ready to throw the ball out of the cannon. You know, the gunpowder's usually dead by then. So a Christmas tree is probably a lot more ignitive than an old Civil War cannon. But let's say hand grenade. Well, Grandpa brought this hand grenade back from the war. Well, is it a dummy? I don't know. But you might be a dummy if you pull that pin out. We'll see. I digress again. So, and we know right after Thanksgiving also they start playing the shows. And Rankin and Bass is the name of a production company that did, in my opinion, my humble opinion, did the best Christmas cartoons. They just, I'm sorry, Hallmark and all that stuff. Some people, how you listen to Hallmark Channel, they may be doing it right now because they probably have enough Christmas movies to play a different one every night or a couple different ones every night of their shitty Christmas movies. I'm sorry. Most likely, if you are listening to this show, you are not a Hallmark person because I don't get all schmaltzy over that. I guess we curse. And if you do listen to Hallmark channels, you don't want to hear about butt plugs and stuff like that. But the Hallmark channel, that's one of the things. If someone's watching it, oh, I love my Hallmark shows because they're happy. They're all happy. Well, that's good. Once again, you may be doing something, delaying doing real stuff in order watching not real stuff, which is the Hallmark channel. Watching formerly famous actors on their way. If you end up, there's two ways of going when you're in Hallmark movies, and most of them is people on their way down or not going anywhere. It's a stepping stone down to doing reverse mortgage gold commercials and gold, buy some gold, or how great idea it is to have a reverse mortgage. I would not, unless it was fair, I would not be endorsing this product. More accurately, unless I was paid less than $100,000, I would not be doing this commercial. So, when you see people like Jimmy J.J. Walker talk about the Medicaid or Medicare Advantage plan, it's not because he has tons of offers. Once again, I digress. So Christmas. Yes, there's certain aspects on it, the lights and all that stuff. I could take it, but the music, too much of a good thing. I don't like watching It's a Wonderful Life until a couple days, if not the night before. I love Christmas Eve watching it. It's a Wonderful Life. It's a tradition. It's schmaltzy. I like the message. But if you think starting Christmas too early is not a big deal, I'd like you to do a little experiment. Do it for me. When you're out and about, starting today until before Thanksgiving, and before Thanksgiving, wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And see how quickly you get labeled a whack job. So you see that person there? They're wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. So they're going to think that you might as well be walking around with one of those scream masks on and a long butcher knife or a long sharp knife. They're gonna look at you like you're crazy or insane and say, "Stay away." They're gonna grab their kids and pull them close to them and go, "Oh my God." Now down the Keys, You can walk around dressed like Santa all year round if you want. Doesn't say, oh, that's just another wacky person. But start wishing everyone a Merry Christmas before Thanksgiving and see how people react to that. This is not about taking Christ out of Christmas and all that stuff. This is about starting too early. But on a lighter note, there's some things you can do early. And let me suggest one big thing, and I just remember this. It's important. Your romantic partner or someone you care about, your paramour, way before Thanksgiving, it is a great time, about 3 months before, at this moment right now, to do something for them. Roses are a great idea. Get roses, flowers for them, plants, something special. And you say, why 3 months before? Because you wait a month and a half, it's going on Christmas. So you're going to get caught in that noise. People don't even say. But right now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, right? Anything before Thanksgiving, you're creating a memory. So when they say, you never get me any of this, you never get me flowers, you never do anything romantic for me, do it. Show them that you appreciate them. Do it now. Don't separate yourself from the crowd. And granted, that I don't have a large enough audience where the momentum for it is not going to change the result of that person feeling special. Do it now. Do it before the relationship, they come up and say, you know what, we're going apart. If you haven't heard that, it's an excellent time to do that. If you haven't heard the person say that, that's a good sign to do it. Obviously, if the person did say that, you're not paying enough attention, it's a good idea to do it too, but they can always attribute your actions to what they said. So it's not as effective. It's so much more effective to do something for your paramour before they expect it. Before the anniversary, before Valentine's Day, before the holidays. Let's do it. And if your anniversary is coming up, do it now. Maybe next time, think about Labor Day as your target. Or 4th of July. Just pick one of these things. Says, on that day, I'm going to do something, but that's actually right around 4th of July is a good idea to get flowers for your loved one too, if it's not your anniversary, because you should always get it for your anniversaries or whatever thing that you do to commemorate. If it's if it's for a guy, it could be something for his truck or some piece of clothing, a hat, sunglasses, something special. I'm just leaving it out there for you. Listen, I'd like to thank everyone for your listens. I appreciate the multiple downloads some of you have been doing. I know some of you don't know what I'm talking about, but if you can do it, I'm asking again. I'm going to do this every show. This is my commercial in order that I can get sponsorship. Download as many episodes as you can. The more episodes you download, the more visibility we get. It has worked already. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. That's the Keys Bartender. If you put Keys Bartender in, you will see the logo of the show of the guy holding the wine glass, shot glass up to his eye. If I didn't know that was foretelling that my eyesight was going to be able to, I don't know how long I'll be able to bartend. I hope I could do it for years to come. But the more listeners I have, the more visibility the show has, the more capabilities the show has. And I will endeavor to keep doing the show for as long as I can. And it really does help me. I do appreciate you for downloading that. Send us any messages that you have, any requests to jim@keysbartender.com. Please keep downloading those episodes. Share these episodes with your friends. Let's get some new listeners. For listeners in new countries and in other states. I track that stuff. I don't think I get all of it because there's some of these services that they're not. I don't think they report back. So I think we probably maybe have 5,000, 6,000 listeners a month. That's a conservative estimate, not a overly exuberant one. I do like to thank you for listening, and I'm not going to say those 2 words yet, but happy holidays, because there's holidays are coming up. There's always a holiday. Talk to you later. Bye.